Hey everyone, welcome to the It's All Related podcast. I'm Andrew.
I'm Josh.
And today we have a guest, which we've had guests 2 weeks in a row now.
Yeah.
Today's guest is Kristi Wright. Say hello.
Hello.
Kristi is a wedding photographer here in Austin, Texas, which we will talk about here in a second. And you'll understand why she is here, because I had quite an interesting weekend. What are you doing?
It's that something is on my shoulder.
Wow.
It's been a weird morning.
Yeah. What'd you do this weekend, Josh?
Homework and work that wasn't supposed to be mine, but did it anyways. But yeah, I'm not gonna go down that path. Golfed.
What'd you
Watched
shoot?
some 87. Which is like, it's all right. I prefer it to be in like the low 80s, but that's just me being picky. What else did I do outside of homework and just golf? Watched Overwatch League again.
What is that? Because I don't know, and I'm curious if there are other people out there that are as clueless as I am when it comes to that.
It's a video game, which is very basic, broad. It's like a competitive first-person shooter where it's like 6-on-6, and the teams play each other. They play 4 games, and then the scores over each stage. So you play 4 games. Let's say you win 3 out of you go 3-1. That goes towards your record. And then there's a month-long stage, and the team that has the most points and most wins by the end of that stage gets $100,000. And there's 4 stages. So after the stage 4, then it's playoffs, and then those teams play for, I want to say, $1 million.
Oh, wow.
But they're all professional. They're all like the best players in the world. Yeah, it's televised.
And you're saying you were watching.
I watch these
weren't
guys
playing.
play. Yeah,
Do you play?
I do play, but not as good as them.
But what I found out.
Obviously, you would probably not be here.
Yeah, we'd probably be in California if that was the case. Well, actually, you don't even
just
need to be.
guessing.
But yeah. So I just like to watch. Yeah, because it's just like a whole nother level. It's like similar to watching like the NBA or the NFL. It's like, yeah, I know how to shoot hoops. I know how to dribble a basketball, but I can't do a 360 dunk or, like shoot it from 45 feet away.
So when you're watching this, are you seeing just what the players are seeing, or do they also have cameras on the players?
Both. And then they also have like general cameras to like see the whole map and see kind of like where everyone's positioned and stuff. It's like a positioning game. And it's all about strategy. Even though you're just shooting people, there's a lot of strategy involved, and you have to stay together. So if like one guy goes off and does his own thing, it's one of those games where it's like death by numbers. If you're by yourself, you will die. Like, I don't care how good you are, you will die.
Okay.
And so even to the point of like for pro guys, once it becomes a 6-on-4 fight, the team that has 4, they literally just jump off the edge and kill themselves and like reset, because they know there's no point of trying to win a 6-on-4 fight.
Okay.
And it's not as grim as it sounds. They literally just like fall off the
Yeah.
abyss. And it's
I've
just,
played video games.
Yeah,
so.
it's just like, all right, cool, we're back at it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Interesting.
it's very fascinating.
It's much more fast paced too.
Oh my God! It's
Than
like
what we play.
seizure inducing sometimes trying to watch it, because the action on screen is so chaotic at times. It's like I don't even know how he watches it. And we'd be on location shooting something, and at night I'm sitting there like going through footage. He's got it on the hotel TV in the background, and it looks like a strobe light, the light against the wall and everything. I'm like, what the hell? And he's just following it like it's totally normal. But I found something out. We were talking. Did I find this out when we were talking to the class, or no? I think it was just our last trip. He is ranked.
On Overwatch?
on Overwatch.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
He's ranked.
What
so
is
he's
your
not.
rank?
But on console.
He is
I know
not
it's
a
like
casual
What does
player.
that mean?
So all competitive gaming's done on PC. So like the best of the best of the best players are on PC, and it's easier to play on PC, or it's easier to aim. Like you can do crazier things on
Okay.
PC because you aim with just your mouse, whereas like on console you have to use both your thumbs.
Okay.
So if I wanted to like look up and to the left, I'd have to move both thumbsticks like up and to the left. Whereas my mouse, I literally just like
Right.
move it and it just goes there. So a lot stuff happens a lot quicker, but it's a little bit harder of a learning curve. But I'm ranked on console, but I'm not ranked on PC. That's basically what I was getting at. So it's
Okay.
like while I'm ranked, if I were to go to PC, I'd probably still get worked. Like,
What's
quite a
your
bit.
rank on, what's your
For
rank?
one character, because there's like 27 different characters and they all have their own unique abilities. So you can
right.
be like really good at one character and like
Terrible.
horrible at another
Okay.
character.
Right.
And one character, I'm 92nd in the world, which is like. But it's console though, so like
But how many people play
In
this
the
game on
world?
the console?
Yeah.
I think collectively there's 30 million people.
What?
So yeah,
How many people play this one character?
I'd have to look that up. Definitely in like the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, and you're 92nd. That's
Yeah,
like
so-
saying, so and so's the 17th best quarterback in the NFL. It's like he's pretty effing good.
Yeah, he's the 17th best quarterback in the world, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just
That's pretty
Don't really
impressive.
think of it.
Have you ever considered trying to transition to PC and seeing what your skill level is?
I've thought about it, but that's a lot of hours. That is a lot of hours.
You have to make it a job. Is that?
Oh
that
yeah,
sounds
like these pro guys, they have.
They're paid a salary to play this
Oh,
game.
are they sponsored?
Yeah, but they also get each player. If you make it to the Overwatch League, you get paid 50 grand flat, and that's not include like sponsors, purses, winnings, like anything like that.
See, I have
like-
this kind of crazy idea. I haven't fully decided or what. We haven't talked about it too much, but I think it would be a compelling story to create some sort of content or even a channel or an offshoot channel of his attempt to go pro in the PC world. I think that would be awesome. And I think that
a
would
lot
be
of hours.
very compelling.
Be an interesting documentary.
Yeah, yeah. It's like,
It would definitely help shine light on what it takes.
yeah.
Because I got a buddy right now who was the #1 Mei player in the world.
The number one what?
Mei, it's like one of the characters.
Oh,
He's
okay.
the #1 Mei in the world, or at least
On-
was
on-
console.
on console?
But he went to PC. He got a PC for Christmas, so he went to
Uh-huh.
PC in Christmas time.
This past Christmas?
Yeah, and I'll have to talk to him, but I think he's a grandmaster now, which is like one step below top 500. And once you make top 500, you can like kind of make some arguments. But top 500 is hard to get into.
Have you ever played on the PC?
Yes, but like not enough to know what
So
it
how
would
many hours do you think it would take?
Well, to give perspective, for me to get 92nd in the world as Zen, that took 119 hours.
What is
a
that
lot.
old saying? Like 100 hours?
Well, the
or
10,000
hours makes you a
Is
master.
mastery.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to try it. I'd have to see what's up.
Is your PC good enough?
Yeah, I can run it. I mean, I have it on that PC. I just haven't played much of the PC version. I have it on actually all consoles. So, I don't like that game at all. Yeah, PC, PS4, and Xbox. Have it all on all of them.
Oh, wow.
Play
Do you have a
anytime, anywhere?
preference for gaming consoles?
Xbox.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
That's just because most of my friends are on there. I think if it was one of those where if all my friends were on PlayStation, I'd be on
Right.
PlayStation or PC. But like, I don't really know too many people that play PC, or at least of my friends play PC.
I have a PlayStation. I used to play the Star Wars game.
The Battlefront,
I think so. I know it's
Yeah.
where it's
pretty-
like open world and you just like run around as like a character and shoot people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's fun.
nice. Yeah, Battlefront's good.
Relieve some stress.
Oh,
Hell
yeah.
yeah.
I'm just going.
That's what Grand Theft Auto's for.
I'm
just
not
wanna
very good
kill-
at the driving games.
Oh, it's not. I mean,
no.
you kind of drive, but you're mostly just driving away from cops. But
Oh, right.
yeah, it's a
where-
game where it's just
oh.
like I don't even play the campaign. I'm just like, you know what? I've had a long day. This is gonna sound really bad based on the events that have been happening, but like I'm just gonna walk around the city and kill things.
Oh, yeah, that's terrible.
It's a good.
We don't advise that.
No,
No, but at the same time,
better to do it in a video game.
yeah,
Yeah.
like anyone that's like, oh, video games made me be violent. No, it didn't.
Right. I agree. I think it's a weak argument.
Yeah, if you can't decipher between pixels and a human, like,
Right.
come on.
I have, oh my gosh, what is the name of that video or the video game? I've told you I play it. Oh my God. what is it?
PlayStation,
It's a PlayStation.
Fallout.
Fallout.
I remember you saying you played that before.
Yeah. But I really love to just build things.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I like to go in and build the communities and
Why don't you just play like The Sims or something? then?
I don't know. I've never
my-
Or
played.
SimCity.
I've
You
never,
played City. You played
Oh,
SimCity
I've
all
I've never
the time.
played
SimCity.
Sims. I've never even seen
Oh, really?
Sims. I mean, other than, I don't know. Do they make commercials for Sims?
They used to.
I mean, I feel like I've seen it, but
Yeah.
my experience with it is quite limited.
Yeah.
But I
okay.
do love the whole Fallout,
Yeah.
building the settlements and stuff, and then like every 5 seconds, it's sending you off to save some other settlement, and I'm just like, seriously,
mine.
can these people not fend for themselves and just let me build? I just want to build this.
Yeah,
this
mine's
thing.
perfectly fine right here. Yeah.
I'm good.
I just never had the patience for that game. I've always heard, like, everyone's like, oh, I love that game. I'm like, I
It's
want to.
fun.
Like, it's one of those games I've always wanted to like it. I wanted to. I just, like, this.
It's fun. I can't handle the like atomic bugs and stuff that come after you.
Yeah.
I can't handle, and I'm not a big fan of bugs in general, but real life bugs. But yeah, when they start coming after me, I just freak out
Just like, let me build
and
my
hand the
fort.
remote to someone that's
There you go.
like, just kill them for me, please.
Yeah, so I can go back to
So
building.
yeah. Just want to create. Anyway,
So, yeah,
Well.
that was my weekend.
Nice.
Long-winded, but that was my weekend.
It's all good, man.
How about you guys? I heard you guys went on a wedding shoot. Or, yeah.
Well,
right?
Kristi shoots weddings as a profession, and I'm gonna boost your ego a little bit here. So, she's one of like the original, like you go on like Google and you type in wedding photographer in Austin, like #1 with like a bullet, like comes in top search results and all that. You've been at it a long time. How long have you been shooting?
almost 10 years.
Wow.
I'm sort of a relic in the industry at this point. It's definitely more of a young person's game, I think, at this stage.
Why do you say that?
Well, I think that primarily it's the entry point into getting into photography has gotten so accessible and cheap. And with Instagram and Facebook, and iPhones, I think that's changed the way we live our lives. Everybody has a phone. Everyone has a camera on them at all times. And, it's easy. It's an easy thing to sort of get into your system. And it's fun and it looks glamorous, and it's not. But, I mean, it's fun. It's not glamorous. I just think that it's just one of those professions that's gotten hot,
Well, I've been taking pictures for semi-pro, pro, and even whatever you want to call it, off and on for over about 15 years now. And in the last 2 or 3 years, I've sort of rededicated my efforts towards it to, make it more of a priority for me. But the one thing I hadn't shot was, or even been around, was like event or wedding photography. I am a studio photographer.
Right.
I wouldn't even go so far as to say I'm even a lifestyle photographer. Like, I like controlled settings. Like, I can photograph people in their environments or in environments, but it's still a very controlled setting. I'm very much not even that much of a natural light photographer. I like strobes. I like
Hence the
Yeah, he likes
studio
a lot of lights.
lights.
Lots of lights.
I like modifiers. So you and I have been shooting more and more these past couple of weeks and months, and it's fascinating to watch you work, because you couldn't ask for more polar opposite styles and approaches. And so when the opportunity came up, what did you ask me, like a week ago or a week and a half ago?
Yeah, it was really last minute.
Yeah, if I wanted to assist, not even like second shoot, but like assist, just be present, see what I get,
Right.
experience it, you know.
Right.
Obviously, I jumped on it, and I have to say, going into it, knowing what I know about photography and knowing that I know my way around a camera in a situation, I thought it was going to be easy to moderately hard.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me.
I thought it, and I will fully admit, when the shoot was over, I believe one of the first things that I did once the shoot was over was apologize to you.
Yes, you did. And I'm not sure which came first, the apology or the saying, I need a drink. Yeah.
True.
One or the other came first.
It is ridiculously hard. It's probably the hardest job in all of photography. And
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm as a studio photographer, I can straight up tell you shooting weddings is harder.
It's not simple. I mean, I don't know if you saw this before I came over, but this morning I logged into Facebook very briefly, and a friend of mine who is also a wedding photographer shared something on her personal Facebook page, and I guess she was at a wedding, or I don't know, she was somewhere this weekend and was on an elevator with another individual who was connected to the event and was asking her questions about what she does, and she was like, oh, I'm a wedding photographer, and the response was, oh, well, that's easy money.
If you're looking at it from the sense of like, there's always going to be a market for weddings, but I doubt it. That's what he meant by that statement.
Well, no, I don't think, while, yeah, I mean, there's always going to be people getting married. It's not a given that you're going to book.
No.
So I don't think
I
with
doubt that
either
was-
respect that
yeah.
it's an accurate statement. But my point in bringing it up is that it's so common that people think it's so simple. I don't know. I
Do
think
they
that
just assume you
people.
show up and just like?
Oh yeah.
cool,
I mean,
we're
well,
out
I mean,
here."
I think this goes with any type of photography, probably. If you talk to a different genre of photographer, they would probably say they hear similar things, such as, and we've talked about this, like, oh, your camera sure does take pretty pictures. I mean, they just assume they really do assume you're pushing a button.
Okay.
That happens a lot.
It's the equivalent to going up to an illustrator, like let's take a comic book artist or somebody that draws images that you like, and saying, man, that pencil sure is something, the way it produces results like that.
Yeah.
You're totally disregarding the human being wielding the tool. And I think because so much of artist tools fall under the category of technology now, people assume, because phones are so amazing, TVs are amazing, hell, cars are amazing. Like, we watched the Oscars last night, and Cadillac is like, you don't even have to know how to drive anymore. It's just take your hands off the wheel and tweet away, because we got this. And people just assume that because all of this amazing technology exists, that it must be the tech,
The tool.
not the artist, the human being behind the tool that does it all. And
Go on Instagram though, you'll see how many crappy photos there are.
right,
Just because it doesn't have, it's not
But-
the camera, because we all have 4K cameras in our pocket.
right, and I'll be the first to tell you, like, I suck at taking pictures with my phone. I suck at it. I don't know why I can't bridge the brain, hand, phone gap thing. Like, I look through a lens or the viewfinder on a camera, I see the world differently. When I look through at my screen, trying to take a picture with my phone in the moment, it is dog crap.
It's because your perspectives are different. Because you're looking up here, your phone's down here, so your perspective's technically down by your phone. That's probably where the disconnect is.
No, I'm
I
just
feel
saying
like
the
if you
world.
could hold up your phone.
No, it's not even that. The world just looks different through a phone than it does through a viewfinder. Like, and that can come down to lenses and focal lengths and all this, and that's not the point of this discussion. But I will say this: Instagram, Facebook, whatever online platform you have made it very easy to take a truly crap photograph and make it passable.
Yeah.
So that if you have a modicum of talent, you can throw some filters on it and make it look a little bit better than you are. The
Yeah.
difference is, and this is what I discovered with Kristi, like, I've looked at your work for months, and on the surface, it's easy to take what you do for granted. Extremely easy to take, because your work looks like real life. It looks like if you had raised your phone to that moment in time and just went like that, because it looks how your eye sees. If you want a true comparison of what the moment really looked like, take a look at my photo from that same instance during the wedding, and mine looks like a monkey took it.
Oh,
No, I'm serious.
I think he's being a little hard on
No,
himself.
it looks like ass sandwich. And then you look at the back of her screen and you're like, well, that's what I'd want the world to think this
Yeah.
looks like. And the problem is without that comparison, your photographs look effortless. They look easy to replicate, and they're not. And that was the problem that I had, is I can dissect your photographs analytically in my head and go, okay, shutter this, that, da, thinking that by dissecting months and months and months of looking at your work and just applying it to my camera, I was going to get similar results.
You tried to like reverse engineer the
Reverse
work.
engineer being a wedding photographer, and I thought, give me an hour, I'll nail this.
Yeah.
Nope, not even close. I think I took over 1,000 images. There are probably 5 that I would even dare show anyone. 5.
Well,
And my hit rate with studio stuff and my hit rate with like editorial, I mean, dozens. You know, I'm obviously more comfortable with that.
sure.
But I think part of the problem is because you make it seem, when the image is done, it doesn't look like nothing went into the creation of it, when a whole world of stuff went into it. And that is an amazing thing, but also what I think is part of the problem that photographers in your position face is we devalue your 10 plus years. We devalue someone's experience because we think it's the tool. You know, we think that the camera's doing all the work. I mean, we shoot video every day. We're primarily videographers. As much as I would love to be known as a photographer, video pays our bills. So many people think that there's a button on a keyboard that says edit.
P for perfect.
Yeah, P for perfect, edit,
Or just
edit video.
Put this in there. It won't take any time at all.
Or just edit this out, or Photoshop this out. Yeah,
That's what I've noticed. Can't you
it's-
just like Photoshop that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a million times where, at a wedding or portrait shoot, and you can make me look skinnier, and you can make me look 20 years younger, and I'm just like, well, technically,
yes,
yeah,
but-
am I going to? Maybe on a handful of images, but don't expect it on every single one.
Well,
It's just so time consuming, and it's not as easy and simple as it may seem,
I mean, I'll be the first to admit, wedding photography is a contact sport. We were talking about this as we were setting up. It's a contact sport.
Getting hit.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's really it's tiring after a 8-10 hour day. Your feet hurt, your back hurts, you're physically and mentally exhausted because there's just you may get 10 to 20 minutes over the day to sit down if you're lucky and just take a breath. And usually in that time you're eating for the first time since probably 10 a.m.
And by eating, it's just shoveling food into you're just like,
Yeah.
You're so hungry and you're just refueling, and you have to hurry up and get back out on the reception dance floor because toasts are happening or a dance is happening,
Or
and
cake's about to get cut.
cake cutting. I mean, it doesn't really matter. There's going to be something that you're needed for, and so you don't get a lot of time to sort of mentally recharge. So it's at the end of the evening or night, you're almost sort of like getting run over by a bus. You're definitely hurting the next morning for sure. Most people I know, they call it the wedding hangover, even though you had no alcohol, sadly.
Makes sense though. You're running around, sweating, you're sore,
And
probably get
carrying,
dehydrated.
20, 30 something pounds of gear on you. And
what? I mean, that's the other thing though. You're a mobile photo studio. Like, it's on your person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not like when
when
we shoot
run out
stuff.
back and
It's like whenever I shoot in studio, like I have a table like this off to the side behind me with like all the stuff I would need just set up. So you just reach, twist. How was your day? Everything's great. Okay, you're looking good. No, it's like waltzing up to a gunfight at a wedding, because it's like you've got it all on your hip and bags and this, and it's insane. And the other thing that I remember talking about when it was over was, in the era of social media, in the era of YouTube and stuff, it's relatively, I don't want to say it's easy. Nothing is easy. Everything requires work. But it is relatively straightforward to appear like you are someone of a known quantity or expert or influencer in a kind of genre or topic. And there are 1.5 million like camera vloggers, bloggers, and all of this. And they will tell you things about specs and cameras and gear, and it's like, if you're this type of person, you need this. Never actually being one of those types of artists. They're very knowledgeable on a technical level about the topic at hand, but in reality, many of them don't have the practical experience. And in going through and just assisting and being around and taking, shots that I knew were never going to make the cut, everything about equipment from the internet is dead wrong. Like, this stuff has to be bulletproof. I watched your camera get banged off at tables. I watched your lenses.
well, that's mostly because I'm kind of clumsy, but
But I'm just saying, like,
and I don't have a lot of time. I'm rushing to get
you spend a lot of time running.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what camera vloggers need to review? Shoes.
True.
They need to review shoes. No, they have to review shoes because you run. You're up and down stairs. You're crouching. You're this. You're that. Like, someone needs to start building like pants with knee pads built into them. And
I think Duluth does.
well, you can't show up to a wedding rocking Duluth. Like, and that's the other thing. You look like a guest. You are dressed in the same kind of.
You have to blend in.
You have to blend in, and it's just like,
You wouldn't want to like stand out. That way people know. It's like, oh, there's the photographer.
it's a nice event.
I don't
yeah.
know. I think there are some.
Because how often are you guys like herding the wedding party around? Or how often are they like, hey, like, we need you over here, versus you being like, no, I need you over here?
I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't care how many coordinators there are at a wedding and how good they are at their job, the photographer is usually the one that's keeping tabs on the timeline.
Okay.
That's just the way it is. You know, they're off doing something else, like setting up flowers and stuff. So yeah, I mean, we are running the show more often than not. I mean, I know there are some photographers, mostly what I've seen, they're like the California photographers where I don't think the humidity gets above like 5%, and it's just perfect weather all the time and the light's perfect. And, I think they can show up in heels and a beautiful dress and their hair and makeup never looks like they, moved 5 inches all day. I live in Texas and my hair gets crazy and my makeup's usually off at the end of the night. And I just want to look, I want to be comfortable but presentable.
Yeah.
And I don't want to stand out too much because I don't want, so when I'm working, when I'm in the lead and I have an assistant, as much as you try to not get in each other's shots, you are going to, at some point in the night or day, get in the shot of your other photographer. And I don't want to be an eyesore
That's true.
in that photograph and have to cut an image
Because
you can see me because I'm wearing some bright color. I mean, and I've actually seen planners dress. It's been a while. Most of the planners dress in black. Most vendors wear black. But I have seen some event coordinators that have rocked a bright purple dress or something, and I'm like, oh my God, all I can see is you, and that's not why we're here. And I don't think they even thought about that. So yeah.
Okay.
As much as I love fashion, I want to be able to move and I'm a very mobile, like you said, I'm a very mobile photographer. I think that there are probably some out there that can, rock heels or whatever, and they are more perimeter type shooters and probably have long focal lengths on their cameras most of the day. I shoot all primes. My 50 is probably on my camera body 90% of the day, and I am in the mix of it. So, and I'm up and down, up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
And I don't want to flash people,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Okay.
No, it's just the wear and tear on the body, the wear and tear on the equipment, just the general, like, I had wine spilled on me.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah. I had champagne spilled on my bag that I just bought.
Well, yeah, so it was really funny. The reception starts and dance floor's packed.
It was a small dance floor.
It's a small,
it was a
small.
Post-it note.
Yeah,
size
it's a
dance.
Those
small.
are better though, because then it always looks like it's like
Oh, it's
going
crazy.
down.
It
Yeah,
looks like it's
and it
crazy.
was fun. It was a really fun party. The guests were having a great time. The band was awesome. And, I'll say, despite our stylistic differences, I think in terms of photojournalistic type coverage, our approaches are very similar. He was very much like in the middle of it all, like I was, or like that I tend to operate. And he's walking around with his new pretty camera bag strapped over him. And
For the record, though, I didn't buy it because it was new and
no,
pretty.
I know you didn't. That's not what I meant.
I
but
normally wear a backpack
which would have even been worse.
Which is ridiculous. I bought a backpack because when I would go out and shoot, like in the field or traveling, the backpacks carry more.
Sure.
But they're impossible to
Yeah, you can't
get into,
Yeah.
and then you look like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle wearing it.
Right.
And it's just not good. So I got a side
yeah,
bag like
no,
what
it was
you got.
yeah, and I have one too that I carry around with me, especially during the ceremony, so I can swap lenses. But yeah, so he's got this thing strapped around his, like crossbody.
Look like
and-
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, there you go.
He didn't, but it's okay. Looked like a dude with a camera bag. Anyway, weaving in and out of the crowd, and I came through and we were trying to pass each other, and I'm like running, bumping into, I can barely get through, period. But his camera bag is like bumping into me, and I know if that's happening to me, it's happening to guests.
Yeah.
So I pulled him aside. I'm like, you got to take it off. You will be so much more mobile without it. You don't need that extra weight. This is small enough space at this point of the day.
You're not going to
that
switching out lenses.
you don't, I mean, and if you do, you can step away and go swap your lens.
Yeah.
And not, I mean, there were 3 of us. We've got it covered.
Yeah.
And it was just dancing. So who cares? I mean, I care, but I don't.
You reached
know.
that point where, you got all the required shots.
Yeah,
that
I
if you
mean,
needed to go give that
an
to the
hour
bride
into the
right then and
reception.
there,
Yeah, an hour into the reception, I have photographed every guest, and I could go home.
Yeah.
And I wish more weddings would end earlier, like they do in California. Everything seems to end at, I don't know, like 10 or 8 o'clock or whatever. But anyway, so I'm like, just take that off, and you'll feel more mobile. The guests will not be like,
Yeah.
there's so many things you have to think about.
But I will say this, and there are things like that to think about, and I thought having a shoulder bag that looked it's slim, very slim or whatever, was going to allow me to do, and prior to the reception, wearing it was not as big of a
No,
deal.
yeah, absolutely.
It's just when the dancing starts, shed all superfluous gear, which is another funny story because me liking light modifiers. I shoot using, outside of a studio, I shoot using 2 different types of light modifiers. I either use products by Round Flash or I use Mag Mod. I prefer Round Flash products, but I do have some Mag Mod stuff that I've just had for years. And Mag Mod advertises heavily towards wedding photographers. You go on their website, you go on whatever, that is, I think, that company's bread and butter. Collapsible, magnetic, portable, the whole 9 yards.
It might have been created by a wedding photographer. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I remember it being Kickstarter, Kickstart, whatever, years ago.
Yeah. So going into a wedding, I'm like, I'm gonna use Mag Mod products tonight. I'm not gonna bring my Round Flash stuff.
Well, and to backtrack just a little bit, before he came out and shot, he was talking to me about what kind of equipment to bring, and he said, "Well, I think you said you talked about bringing your beauty dish."
Well, okay.
Right? Or
the Round Flash is a collapsible beauty dish.
Right.
It's not like
It's
a
not
metal bowl.
Sure. What? So
Yeah.
what it looks like, it's like
It's like a giant eyeball looking thing.
sort of, it wraps around the lens.
No.
Doesn't
It's
it?
like a little
Or
smaller.
no, sorry,
thinking-
it wraps around the head of the flash.
Yeah. You're thinking
But it's
of
still, I mean, like a dinner plate size.
it's
size of a
13 or
basketball.
14 inches in diameter when it's fully extended.
Sure. Yeah. So anyway, he
baseball,
talked
yeah.
about he talked about bringing that and shooting with it at some point. I was like, no,
Like,
don't
you're
you
not gonna have room.
dare, don't you dare.
So I brought my Mag Mod stuff, which is obviously much smaller
Right.
and aimed towards wedding photographers. So the reception gets going. We're out of available light, so modifiers.
Yeah, it was
are-
outside.
Yeah.
The reception was outside.
8 o'clock at night, get my on-camera flash on there, because no one told me I could have off-camera lights and set up my own stands and all that. Lesson learned. But which I'm not upset about, because I think it's important to learn how to do it with less and then expand from there.
Well, for the record, I didn't expect you to stay all night. I initially thought he would just show up, shoot some details before the ceremony started, shoot the ceremony, and then cocktail hour, and then probably leave shortly thereafter, which would have been around the time the sun set. So, I mean, I would have said, hey, bring some off-camera lights if I had known that he wanted to stay.
Oh,
all
I
night.
was so mad, like internally, not at any of the
Yeah.
guests or anything, but just like with myself at the results that I wasn't getting, that's why I stayed. I'm like, I'm gonna figure this out, you know? But anyway, so light goes away, throw the on-camera flash on there, slap the mag mod, not the diffuser.
You should, do you have it?
Yeah.
I mean, you should show,
Hold on.
at least to give a visual.
So I think I know what he's talking about.
Yeah. This is not a
'Cause it's not the
commercial
one that
for
wraps around the
MagMod, by the way.
lens, right? Huh? It's not one that wraps around the lens.
No.
It wasn't that one?
No, No, I told him, don't you dare bring that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm
I
back.
know these things.
So, this being, you know, just a on-camera flash, goes in the hot shoe,
Yeah,
you know, you can rotate it around, blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
So, normally, this is the bounce card that comes with most every flash to help do
Yeah.
whatever. You know, here's a grid to help diffuse it. So, I did that. This is the MagMod bounce diffuser or whatever. It does put out a prettier light than just this. It
Yeah,
is more
makes
pleasing,
sense.
and it does give really nice specular highlights in the eyes, which are, you know, makes people look alive. The problem is when you're shooting with the DSLR, this is actually here, not here. If everything was here, it's not as conspicuous. But
You look like a
Yeah.
like a bunny with one ear.
yeah, it's like, I don't,
Or a quail.
I mean, this is what I looked like all night. Well, not all night, for about 10 whole minutes. For about 10 whole minutes until she taps me on the shoulder and she's like, take that off. And I'm like,
Lose it.
lose it.
Yeah, you look like a
I'm like,
scuba
what? He's like,
diver.
why? I'm like, because
Scuba diver crowd surfing.
you are so visible.
Yeah.
So one of the things, if you are a photographer and you're watching this and you are considering getting into wedding photography, first of all, it's not an easy thing to get into. I definitely don't recommend that you shoot any wedding on your own without assisting someone first.
Oh, and you should definitely have a dozen of these under your belt as an assistant before
Absolutely.
you ever attempt or approach a client saying that you can do it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that if you've been doing this a while, you just inherently know if you're working with another photographer and covering a wedding that you don't want to be in each other's shot. So you have to be aware of not only the moment in front of you, but where is my other photographer? Because I don't want to be shooting the same thing they're shooting, and I don't want them in my field of sight, right?
Yeah.
So we're on the dance floor and it's crowded and we're, moving around, getting shots, and all I can see is this gigantic white, Tupperware
Yeah.
moving around the crowd. And, I'm trying to get a shot of the couple or a guest or whatever it might be. And Andrew isn't aware of where I am. And I told him going into this, if you are not the primary, you have to give up position, or you should. It's not always going to happen, but if I'm a second shooter and I see my lead is getting a shot, and I'm even if I've just come up and like seeing this amazing moment, I mean, it has to be like a super awesome a moment happening for me to just stay there, I will move and defer to the lead. And so I told this to him going in. I'm like, look, if you see either of us across from you, I need you to get the hell out of the way because you can't be in my shot. And he, there's so much going on, and
You lose track.
it's not easy unless you've done this a while, because you have to be thinking about so many different things. And so he's just trying to like get a good shot, and
You can applaud the effort.
It's kind of funny. I mean, honestly, I'm a little bit surprised. I thought, Andrew's a really accomplished photographer. I thought that this was going to be a cakewalk. And I think I've just forgotten how difficult this job really is. It's so much of it's second nature to me at this point after 10 years. And knowing that he knows his camera and he knows lighting, understands lighting. And he is good at, photojournalistic type coverage, not just posed static shots. I thought, this will be pretty easy. Yeah, I mean, I think I had the same assumption as you did, that I thought, give him, 30 minutes, an hour, especially for what I was having him shoot. I thought, this, he'll get it. And to see how frustrated he was, but I think a lot of it is because he's a bit of a perfectionist, but yeah, I was like, yeah, this job is really hard. It's demanding, and you do not have a second to think. So,
I'll say this. I can be fast. Like you said, photojournalistic stuff. Like, you've seen me cover that. If you've followed me at all, anybody listening to this, you've likely seen that work for me. Here's a couple of things that make it different from weddings. Is photojournalistic coverage or editorial news-based coverage fast-moving? Yes, absolutely. Do you have to know your camera inside and out? Yes. Do you have to sometimes just shoot from the hip and hope you get a great result? Absolutely. 9 times out of 10 in real life situations, in news events, you are in a indoor or outside environment without fluctuating conditions. It may be crap conditions, like just bad overhead office lighting, or a cloudy day, which I happen to really love, or bright sunny sunshine, but it's going to be like that throughout. You get into a wedding, and not only is daylight turning into night, but the ceremony's lit, if it's lit at all. The ceremony is lit completely different than cocktail hour. Cocktail hour is completely different than the reception. The reception is a shit show because everybody
Everyone's trying to eat, everyone's trying to get drunk.
No, it's not even that. No, every vendor there has their own, I don't want to say agenda, but their own visual style they're trying to impart on the scene. So your bands, they brought their own lights.
If they're good, they've brought their own lights, and if they haven't, or DJ or somebody has brought their own lights. The videographer, they might be bad lights.
They're going to be purple strobes, like purple, pink, yellow, red strobes, and you never know when they're going to go off.
Yeah.
Some of them are constant, and then you're like, okay, so there's this purple haze that I'm just going to have to deal with, and then a song changes, or in the middle of the song they go from purple to yellow to red, and now they're just flashing. Well, thanks, I appreciate that. You just hosed me. So that's going to happen. Your videographer, if there's a videographer there, they may have a light, and it may be a light strapped to the top of their camera, and that's just going to roam.
Yeah.
That's just going to roam around. Okay, so that sucks. Then you've got the venue's natural lighting. Like we're in our office. We've got some overheads, but I also set up some video lights.
Yeah.
But then you've got this. So no one is going to look their best in these situations, and yet I will maintain, if you want to know what it really looked like, taking a step back at the melee of light, color, and drunkenness, look at my photo. That's what it really looked and felt like. And I'm not saying that is a good thing, because you don't want necessarily in a wedding to remember, Uncle John falling down or tripping or someone getting, red wine spilled on them or things like that. You have a perception. And a good wedding photographer captures and recreates your perception of the special day. I think that is the true talent and gift, is to be able to work in an environment that is tornadic. I mean, it's a tornado.
Yeah.
It's constantly changing.
Yeah.
There are different things that are happening throughout the evening. You've got speeches, toasts, you have cake cutting, you have dances. whatever, and they may all be happening at in different spots. So you might set your lights up around the dance floor because that's where most of the event is going to take place. And then, the next thing you know, something's happening way across the room that you need to go capture, but you don't have time. You don't have time to drag your light stands and reset lighting. Maybe you do, but a lot of
More
times
often
you
than
don't.
not,
And so you have to know how to manipulate the light and work with it the best you can. It's not always going to be beautiful, and there's going to be parts of the dance floor or the space that's going to photograph better because that's where your light sources are. But you don't have time to be like, oh, well, I know that this beautiful moment is happening between the grandpa and the bride, 20 feet away. Let me go get all this equipment so I can make it look pretty.
Yeah.
You don't have time for that. And you could be on the dance floor and photographing one direction and it looked great. You could turn around, you could turn your back just 360, and because of like what Andrew was saying, the DJ lights or this or that, it looks totally different. Completely different. So there's a lot of on the fly, manipulation that you're doing. And I shot, the wedding that we shot together was actually for my friend Jonna. I was second shooting for her.
Okay.
And because he's gonna shoot some weddings with me in the future, I wanted him to have an opportunity to work in a situation where he didn't feel pressured. And I get a lot of new photographers that will reach out to me through my website and be like, oh, I love your work and I'd love to, come and, do you need a second shooter? I'm just getting started. And, I'm sorry, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to train you on the job. That is not what I'm there for. It's not fair to the client. So even though he is an accomplished photographer in his own right, I would never bring him to an event that my client paid for two professional photographers, not professional wedding photographers, let me clarify, and be like, oh, good luck.
Yeah.
And hope that I get what I need, because I can't do that, and I, like I said, I think that I thought he was going to have an easier time at it. So just imagine if somebody that's been doing this for however many years you've been doing this, let's just say, they're like, I've discovered I love photography. I mean, this was me 10 years ago. I'm not going to lie. 10 years ago, my friends were getting married. My creative background was as an actor. I pursued acting for a while. And there was a time in that part of my life where that wasn't as fun to me anymore. So I fired my agent and just decided that I wasn't going to pursue that route. But I wanted to do something creative and fun. It's something that I've always done since I was a kid, have that sort of outlet. And so I thought, I've always loved photography and film, and maybe I'll just pick up a camera and just see what happens. Never ever intending that it would become a business. And two of my friends were getting married, and I didn't even have my camera at the time. I was picking out what I was going to buy. And I'm like, hey, I am getting a camera, and when it comes in the mail or whatever, do you want to do like an engagement type session with me? It'll just be for fun. And they were like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Why don't you shoot the wedding?
All right.
And I just thought, what? And they, I already knew about the wedding and was invited, obviously. And I'm like, because for one thing, I don't even have a camera yet. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never, no, I'm not going to shoot your wedding. And back then, I couldn't have been more unbiased as far as the industry goes. I really thought photography was, as far as weddings go, was the one thing that you should not skimp on.
Yeah, probably.
I know there's a lot of things that are important, but
I will say it's still the one thing that you shouldn't skimp on. I don't want to get into this any further than that, but as someone who, you know, has been married and did not have all of the shots that people tend to want, it's difficult to learn that after the fact as the client.
Yeah.
It's as much, there is so much pressure on everybody to make that day as memorable as possible, and everyone, when you're going through it and when it's over, everyone feels really good about it. Everyone loves your wedding. The thing is wedding photography, wedding videography, it's delivered 4, 6, 8 weeks afterwards.
Average.
That high comes
So the
off.
high has come down. So now you're going to have a second go at remembering this amazing day. And you remember the expectation of the day, the anticipation and the excitement of the day. So in 8 weeks when the photography is delivered, it needs to match that. And when it doesn't, like in my experience, it can be devastating. Not so much to me, but to certain people
Yeah,
in
you
family,
get disappointed, or
it can be
and
devastating.
it's usually, I feel like the family, like outside of the bride and groom, they're like, oh my god, if like they don't like the pictures.
Yeah.
Those are
Oh
usually
yeah,
the
it's
opinions you
yeah, it
get.
is. It's you're.
And that's stuff that people don't. I don't think people consider. I think they look at how much money they're spending before the wedding. They're like, oh my god, catering and plates and flowers.
Yeah, you're spending a lot of money. I think it goes back to our earlier conversation, the perception that photography is easy and, you know, everyone has a phone. And so look, iPhones take amazing photos and you cannot know a darn thing about photography and take a really good image. And then you throw that with, you know, everybody has access to Lightroom or whatever these days. You know, you can turn even a somewhat bad photo into passable, you know? So I think that has a lot to do with it. But like going back to where, you know, I was talking about my friends who were getting married, you know, this was, you know, 10 years ago, obviously. I tried to convince them 3 separate times to hire somebody. And they, you know, they're like, no, I'm not going to do
Look at
it.
the savings, and it's like it's worth it.
They're like, they're like, nope. They actually said the words, we just don't value photography. And they said, Kristi, if you don't do it, it's okay. But we're just what we'll do is we'll just put out some disposable film cameras and let our guests take photos, and that's what we'll get.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my gosh, you know, and I really thought long and hard about whether I was going to take, I mean, there was a part of me that really wanted to do it because I thought it would be fun, but I thought, this is somebody's wedding, and this is, you cannot do this day over. And what
It's
if
the closest thing to a bad tattoo.
yeah, like what if I fail?
Yes.
It's the closest thing to a bad tattoo.
Yeah, so if I fail, you
Yeah.
know, and, you know, when they told me they were going to put these disposable cameras out, I was like, well, God, surely I can do a better job than that. And even that was a bit naive thinking. So luckily I had about 4 months or so before from that point, just making that decision to the wedding day. And I have the type of personality that if I decide I'm going to do something, there is not a lot stopping me. And so I devoured everything that I could in terms of wedding photography, looked at pictures all the time on Flickr. Flickr was huge back then. A shout out to
Flickr's still around.
quick shout out to SWPB, starting a wedding photography business. That is where I learned so much. We had it was a group on Flickr, which really doesn't, I don't even know, does Flickr even exist anymore? I have
Still
no idea.
there. Tumblr kind of replaced
All
it.
that stuff's moved on to Facebook at this point, but that was a wealth of information that had I not had access to that, I would have been even in more trouble. But so I got my camera, and the couple was having this rehearsal dinner, like a night or 2 before the wedding. And I couldn't get my camera to work. And I was taking photos, and all it was like a black screen. That's how underexposed my image was. And I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, how am I going to shoot this wedding? What am I going to do when the sun goes down? Like, I legit did not even think of that. Had not even thought, oh, well, when the sun goes down, because it was going to be it was an outside wedding in their backyard. It was a really small wedding. It was, as far as weddings go, it was not the worst case scenario for me to be putting my toe in the water. I still don't recommend it. Luckily there was a girl there, this friend of the bride, and she shot film. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. And I handed her my camera. And she looks and she, all she did was adjust the ISO or shutter speed or both.
Yeah.
Took a photo, handed it to, she's like, see, it's fine. I'm like, oh my God. She was like, Kristi, you're going to be fine. It's okay. Just take a deep breath. But in the moment, I couldn't come up with the solution. And had that happened on the day of the wedding, I would have felt so terrible.
And you probably wouldn't have done a wedding again.
No.
Who knows? But like, you probably would have made you a little wary.
It could have changed my whole life, which is kind of weird to think about that at this point. But anyway, so thinking that Andrew could just come on, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be so simple for him. Mm-hmm. He's gonna moonwalk through this. Mm-hmm. I really thought that.
Yeah.
And to see him get so flustered, I was like, damn.
Okay. I wasn't outwardly flustered, like where guests could see it.
You were.
Really? Oh,
you were.
Man.
Well, you probably could tell.
No. Well, yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
I wasn't disrupting like the wedding party, like.
Oh,
anything
no,
like that.
no, nothing like that. But if anybody were to have looked over and saw you, I mean, there was one point where you literally like took a photo, kind of went threw your camera down by your side, probably said a cuss word, and then whipped around and walked like 5 feet away, and it's like, God, GD, whatever. Yeah. There was a couple of moments.
I get frustrated. I got frustrated.
That it was visible.
Yeah.
And don't do that again.
No. But
I mean, you can't. It's such a perception.
Yeah.
And everybody is watching. Yeah. That's the thing.
Well, the other thing though too is nothing prepares you.
Yeah, it really doesn't.
Nothing prepares you. You can watch all the videos you want. You can read every article. You can subscribe. You can own all the equipment. It will fail. It will not perform as advertised on paper or in a video or by the salesman. It will not work the way you want it to work.
And that's going to happen even if you've shot 100 weddings.
Yeah.
There's going to be a moment. It's happened to me. It's happened to every single wedding photographer that I know that's been in the game longer than a hot second.
Yeah.
They're like, my shutter died in the middle of the ceremony. But you know what? They have another camera. They have multiple backups. Mm-hmm. And the danger of hiring somebody that's inexperienced or hasn't been in the game very long, they may not know that you need all of those fail safes. And you if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to save some money and I'm going to go on Craigslist or I'm going to hire my friend or family member, you're crazy. Because unless you just flat out don't care about your pictures. And if you can accept that, if you're okay with, you're good with that, if you're good with when it comes right down to it, at the end of the day, you may not have a single shot of your day, then you know what? If food and music and all that stuff's more important, right. Good on you. Yeah. But you hire some, scam artist on Craigslist, or you hand your camera to your aunt or somebody.
I'll go one further. You hire someone like me that might have an interest and
which happens a lot.
I'm a photographer. It would seem logical that Andrew's taken pictures before. I'm just going to ask him. And I have been asked by friends to shoot weddings, and I have always said no. Mm-hmm. Every time I say no, because It's not because I didn't think that I could do it. I didn't want to be responsible for what if I didn't.
Yep. I mean, at the wedding we were at, there was a videographer there. She had professional equipment, and you could tell that it's not like she had. I mean, like me, like I could probably come to you guys and be like, hey, can I borrow your video equipment? And my friend asked me to shoot this wedding and just go up, and I wouldn't know what I was doing. But she had somewhat of a clue. I don't know
about how to use the equipment.
Right. I don't know what type of videography or video work she does. She doesn't live here, so I feel safe to bring this up, but whatever. She was a friend of the couple, and I'm sure they were like, oh, I'd love to have video, but they probably, whatever, when they made this decision, they're at the end, close to the wedding, they don't have, their budget is shot to shit, because that happens. And they're like, oh, do you want to, would you do this? And she was obviously agreed. And I watched her struggle all night long. She had a GoPro set up on the altar area to cover the processional, and it wasn't pairing for whatever reason with her phone or whatever. I don't know anything about that stuff, so
It's just an app that lets
I could hear her talk, somewhat similar to Andrew, like having little fits, and like, why isn't this working? And she was alone, and she only had, her very limited setup. And granted, she probably didn't get paid a dime.
Yeah.
But that's kind of, I see that happening a lot, and I have clients who will, when they're booking me, they'll talk to me like about video, and I'm not gonna lie, like most photographers I know, we have quite the love-hate relationship with videographers, and I think because most couples, it's a bit of an afterthought, and they're maybe a month or two out, and they've suddenly decided that they need video, or someone's like, oh, you really, really should hire a videographer, and they have very little left over in their budget. And I tell them, listen, unless you're willing to spend at least $3,000 on a videographer, don't bother. Because you know what they're going to do? They're going to ruin your still pictures, because they're going to be in my way. They're not going to know what they're doing. I have seen some real unprofessional people just make complete fools of themselves. Not saying that this girl last night was in that category.
Yeah, but it's a risky run.
It's a huge risk, and you just have to be super, super careful, or know going in that you may not get what you wanted. And like my friends, that first wedding that I ever shot, they, and of course, like looking back, those images are pretty terrible. But I got a few, especially before the sun went down, that weren't bad. Considering I'd never shot a wedding before, never really shot anything, other than like my dog. And afterwards they were so grateful. And they said, Kristi, we're so glad you did that. And we really didn't understand how important these photos were until we got them. And that has stayed with me all these years. And I just hope that people will remember, when they're planning their day and they're trying to decide what to put value on. And you never know. Like, you never know what's going to happen. Weddings are really like, weddings and funerals are the things that bring most families together, right? So that event might be the last time you see somebody.
Yeah.
Those images may be the last documentation that you have. And I know it's kind of, maybe a little bit morbid to think about, but
It's true though.
No, I mean, it's so true. Like, even with what we do on a daily basis, it's like everyone takes it for granted until it moves the needle or until it touches the heart or until it revives some type of emotion,
Right.
then suddenly it's the most important thing in the world. And I say this to all of my photographic clients that I used to do a lot more of before switching into being a video company. I used to tell them all the time, because inevitably someone's going to raise an issue with the price.
Oh, yeah.
And my response was always this: in the event, whenever you're watching television or you yourself have been faced with a very traumatic or horrific experience, in a tornado, in a fire, in a flood, in a this, in a that, and they're interviewing victims or people that have had to evacuate, what's the number one thing they grab? They grab photos. They grab photos. They grab things that can't be replaced.
Yeah.
And if that is what is most important to you, and I hate sounding like a car salesman, but it's like, if that's the thing that's most important to you, then find it. Find the money in the budget to get it done right the first time, because this isn't like making a movie. A wedding is a one and done. As it occurs, it's over. Like the second the moment passes, it's in the past. And you either captured that forever or you missed it.
Yeah.
And I cannot stress enough to anyone listening or watching this the sheer reality of that statement. I think even brides and grooms and family members think that by setting time up in the schedule, even wedding coordinators, I'm giving you 15 minutes to shoot these types of pictures, so we can do it for 15 minutes. Like you don't understand. A moment is a moment because it's a moment.
Yeah.
You can sit there and be like, oh my God, I just saw you do this thing.
Yeah.
Can you do that again? It's gone.
Oh, yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah.
So you can have 15 minutes to finesse it and fake it. You missed it, it's gone. And that is the difference between professionalism and an amateur. This professional is going to know how to be in an environment, in a moment, and get it. And an amateur is going to just frame a picture.
Well, there's so much.
And I don't mean like physically frame. They're just going to point.
Yeah.
And it will be composed. It will check half a dozen good photography boxes.
Yeah.
A professional is going to capture the moment.
Well, so much about the wedding day is anticipation. You know, you have to know. And when you shoot, the more weddings you shoot, there's a general pattern most every wedding follows, and that helps you have like a bit of a guideline in your head, and you have to know those things, and that will help you anticipate the moment. And I saw you a few times where you were just like a second too late, or you have to move with your subject. They are not going to stand there still perfectly.
Yeah.
Half the time they're going to have their backs to you, and the minute you come around, they're going to turn again. Because really, they don't want to be photographed, and you're like, I can outwait you,
Yeah.
you know, and I will.
But that happened to me too, where I was like, this woman is turning, so I'm gonna sit, wait. I had my shot, and she was doing exactly what I knew she was gonna do. Here she comes, and as I'm ready to press the shutter, Uncle Joe,
Yeah.
like, douche, and I'm like,
Yep.
so anyway. Well, I want to say, because I know we keep running long, because
Yeah.
it's a stream of consciousness, but I just want to say I really, really appreciate the experience and the opportunity of being able to go out with you and shoot, and it was eye-opening, and I hope anyone listening to this or watching it does, whether you're getting married, thinking about hiring a photographer, or you're a photographer yourself, take a lot of what was said today into consideration. And to anyone listening or watching, how do we find you? What's the best way of like looking at you, hiring, or how do we learn more about you?
You can go to my website, which is KristiWrightPhotography.com. I'm sure you'll include a link or something. Or you can find me on Instagram. I think it's at Kristi Wright Photo. I'm really terrible at promoting myself. I don't have business cards, so yeah. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Anyway, but yeah, you can find me that way. Or Google. Kristi Wright, Austin.
Yep, and she comes up number one.
Well, not number one, but
Number one in the organic. There's people that pay, but that's a whole other topic for later. So anyway, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for being awesome guests.
thanks for having me.
Yep, and until next time, I guess, happy shooting, happy listening, and be kind to one another.
Peace.
Bye.